we're gonna try and reestablish that. We had a Young Democrats group a few years ago that kind of dissolved. It was unfortunate the way it happened, but it happened. But we have some individuals now who are in the 18 to 28 range that are gonna kind of resurrect our Young Democrats outreach. So we've got some plans to reach out and have some meetings, events with the Young Democrats and see how we can grow that group. They know people who are of the same age, so if we can get 20 people here, we can probably wind up with 40, and then you know how it goes beyond that. So we are working on a plan, our Project Blue plan, to get the Young Democrats involved. Good question. Any other? Yeah, no, go.
I think a lot of people who don't know anything about the history of unions in this country tend to look at unions negatively today. But if you look at history, the contribution that the unions made to improve the working conditions and wages, and as you pointed out. So what can we do to support unions in our community or state?
Well, one of the things we did was at one of our galas, we had the gala focused on unions. And fortunately, we've been working with a lot of labor unions. We've had more labor unions involved with our organization now than 8 years ago. Unfortunately, we have some labor unions that support Republicans, and they give money to Republicans, which is a challenge we have. Now, I'm hoping that with the election of Bruce Rauner, that they've taken another look at, do we want to support a guy like Dan Cronin? Dan Cronin gets thousands of dollars from some labor unions. And hopefully they realize that's probably not the smartest thing for us to do. So we have a great communication with a lot of labor unions. We're working with them, they're working with us, and we need to continue that. We need to get all of the labor unions in DuPage County, and we have a lot outside of DuPage County that support us. So we'll continue that. And if you know people in labor unions, Art's in a labor union, other people, Dan was.
I wanted to say that I went to the letter carrier and I called Bob. I said, could you? And Bob came to one of our letter carrier meetings to meet with Union Branch 825 National Association of Letter Carriers.
If I can get out to meet with some of them, I'll do it. And they've been very helpful. Ken Christie has been a great supporter of ours.
Can we come up with any keywords, hot button words, things like that we can be repeating, all of us, the same thing?
Keywords in terms
Keywords
of.
or hot button words instead. We're always, I think a big problem of Democrats is we always have just a long explanation for everything we want to do. We want to support the labor unions because blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later, everyone's gone.
Tell them the Supreme Court will be conservative for 30 years unless you get out and vote, make sure we got a Democratic president elected. Boom.
How about some more?
That's it.
How about a few more?
Well, I'll write them down and
Because
send them
people
to you.
don't care about
I'll write them down and send them to you. You can send them to me what your ideas are. Dan?
Well, on the other thing about unions, one of the things we could do is find out when unions are going on strike or job actions and things like that and stand with them. I've done that at times with other unions that were going on strike, and I think that that's one way. If you want to really build solidarity with them, I mean, teachers are always getting dumped on, the teachers union, and there's probably other examples that we could, that's just something to think about.
Paul and I were out at one union picket line, one of the car dealerships. And Paul and I went out there and stood with them and had our banner, our DPPC banner. They appreciated that. So yeah, those are some of the things. When you see the big rat, stop by and say hello, tell them who you are, tell them we support them.
All right, so when that happens, can we set up some communications when we're going out?
If somebody, I don't know where all the rats are. Well, I know where some rats are. But if somebody sees a rat, let me know, and I'll put the word out that, we need to go support this labor union here. Paul?
Where people, I think, lose focus is on the appointments that the governors, the county chair, and especially the president make in the United States. The Labor Department is a perfect example. I mean, that means a lot to all the labor unions when the Secretary of Labor makes recommendations to the president, who's gonna be on the NLRB and the National Relations Labor Board. So, you want Republicans on there who are gonna hammer you every chance they get, or do you want a Democrat who's gonna be mostly friendly towards labor? And that's what's really important to the labor organization. Look at Cronin. When Rauner needs someone, he's gonna go ask Cronin, do you have anybody that should like to be put, in this committee on, getting rid of labor unions in the state, or whatever? And so Cronin says, oh yeah, we got this nice guy, he hates unions, why don't you put him on there? And that's what happens. So,
Tony? And then Bobby, go.
Yeah, well, there's several things. One, as you're going through your precinct and doing your things you're doing, and canvassing, even when you're out canvassing, if you see a sign on a guy's lawn that says Proud Union Home, a lot of people have this, and if he's not on your list, or he's not one of your constituents in your precinct, bang on the door and talk to the guy, especially if you yourself are in a union. You have like an instant bond that way, so you have your precinct committee, even for Democrats, blah, blah, blah. I'm a, not union member myself, goes a long way, You can also, like your congressman, there's nonsense that people know that are congressmen and can do something about things, and you object, people know the squeaky wheel gets the oil, the old saying. Call your congressman and complain about Browner's Annex.
Bobby, go.
Really quick, we're talking about unions and we're talking about talking points, and just wanted to, I get this email every day, and also on Facebook. Robert Wright is former labor secretary under Clinton. He has a tremendous feed on his Facebook that talks about all the issues and the papers that he writes, and he's very involved still in national labor. So if you're on Facebook, or if you wanna go look at his website, hook up with him, and you'll get a feed of ideas and action every day.
Robert White?
Yes.
REI.
He's not all the time on Facebook,
Yeah.
We're gonna move on, because you'll have some opportunities to give us some feedback and ideas, when we get Bill Lavin up here. I wanted to go through, this is, something I put together quickly. I think I have all or most of the individuals who have